was going to be implemented, etc. And that's been my experience. In the first instance, they are very, the magistrates do come across as being very sensitive in such cases. Now again, I've been following up all these maintenance cases, which we all know is so hard to implement. Once you've been given a fixed maintenance order, you file the execution, and then following that up is very complicated. And in one of these maintenance cases, we also have a case where the magistrate, for non-payment of maintenance, the magistrate went ahead and took cognizance of the offence and said, why should bail not be granted to you? Now again, this has gone up in appeal, and this is like the usual practice, where whether if the magistrate can take cognizance of an offence under section 31 for non-payments of maintenance. Now, telling you about other judgments, whether grant of maintenance in other matrimonial proceedings, how does that affect maintenance under the Domestic Violence Act? In this particular case, the aggrieved person has been getting maintenance in her divorce proceedings, however, which was not sufficient, and so we argued that at least the school fees should be paid under the Domestic Violence Act. And the court said yes, the court did grant her the school fees independent of her pending divorce proceedings maintenance, the interim maintenance that she has been granted there. And another thing is to tell you of this judgment from the Delhi High Court. What had happened here, this particular judgment, it's called Nidhi Kumar Gandhi versus the state and others. Now what is important in this case is that the Delhi High Court has said that on a prima facie level, if it appears that a woman has been thrown out of her house, irrespective of the claims of the respondent that it is the in-laws' house, as was held in the Batra case by the Supreme Court, what the Delhi High Court has said is that the magistrate does have the power to grant an immediate interim relief, allowing her residence in the so-called premises, in the so-called household. And this is just an interim relief, and the whole aspect of whether the father-in-law or the in-laws are the actual owners of the house will be decided at a later stage. But at an immediate interim level, the magistrate does have the power to ask the in-laws to take her into the house. They've said that the whole issue of whose house it is can be decided later, but as an interim order, the magistrate has the power to grant her residence orders. Okay.
Thank you, Advocate Rajni. We now have Advocate Dhanalakshmi from Kerala.
Good morning, everybody. I will just rush up with my experiences as a lawyer. I'm a legal counselor to Shastra Family Counseling Center, and I have come across so many cases under this DV Act, being the service provider. And I think there are, regarding the judicial officer's attitude, I feel that in Kerala, it is not that much stated as Karnataka. We are also having favorable orders, especially ex parte interim orders. They are passed on the same day when the petitions are filed, and the copy is also given as per the rules. But the thing is that most of the judicial officers, they say that it's very much essential that there should be a separate court to try the cases coming under DV Act. And another thing is that the probation officers, they are made as the protection officers. It creates problem for them. Luckily for us, the protection officer, he is very cooperative and he is helpful, but he is not in a position to to pass all these notices to the within the act time, because he has got the duties as a probation officer. So there should be a separate protection officer for this purpose only, which has to be recommended to the state government and also to the central government. Now, with regard to the coming across the 498A petitions after the passing of this DV Act, the Act, especially the 498A petitions are being very much minimized because we get favorable orders from the DV Act. But the thing is that they are also harping upon documents regarding the physical injury, and also for they are laughing at the verbal harassment and the mental harassment. These 2 points they don't believe. They say that this is simply all the husbands will be calling sometimes the wife, or they will be repeating at them. So there cannot be a verbal harassment or mental harassment. That is only imagination. So except that, all other things, the Kerala magistrates, they are far better when compared to other states, but especially except Karnataka, what was now told by advocate, I think I have forgotten her name. Yeah, Karnataka selection or something like that. Rama, yes. And another aspect I think I would like to, because I have to be within time, that's why I'm rushing. Another thing is that the recent decision, I think Maria has just rightly put it, but she has not summed it up. That Justice Shashindran Nambiar, he has put forth in the recent decision of 2008 February that the 10 commandments, especially regarding the service of notice and passing of interim ex parte orders, he said that the notice should be reached to the respondent. But before that, if the conditions are such that the situations are in a very bad condition, then ad interim orders can be passed, and only after that the interim ex parte orders can be passed after serving of notice. So I think that's all for the day. Thank you.
We now have Advocate Cicely, and after that we have one more person who is not listed, Pragya Mishra from Rajasthan.
Friends, I am Advocate Cicely from Kerala. My first case on Domestic Violence Act is about a 23-year-old newly married girl who filed this petition after 1 month of her marriage against her 23-year-old husband. So the relief sought in this petition was a stop violence order and return of her jewellery and cash, which were misappropriated by the in-laws and her husband, and for maintenance of rupees 2,000 per month, and a separate residence of the petitioner as well as her husband. And in this petition, she alleged cruelty from the hands of the family members of her husband, and her husband was supporting it through his silence. Hence, she wanted a separate residence for herself and her husband. Immediately after filing this petition, the magistrate ordered stop violence. And after serving notice, when the respondent appeared, the magistrate granted maintenance at the rate of 1,000 per month. And after detailed evidence, the court passed the orders of stop violence and maintenance at the rate of 1,000 per month, and ordered return of 2 sovereigns of gold and rupees 75,000. All these orders were complied by the respondents, and the court declined the relief of separate residence by saying that I am quoting the same words of the magistrate. The respondent is a bakery worker and he is earning 3,000 only per month. Hence the court ordered that it is not fair on his part to leave his family who are dependent on him. The respondent husband is having a large family to look after. His father, mother and younger siblings are also with him. And the magistrate ordered that his financial position is not conducive to provide separate maintenance to the petitioner. The ultimate result is that the respondent conducted a second marriage immediately after the pronunciation of this order, and he got a huge amount of dowry, and he utilized that dowry to pay off this dues to this petitioner. That is the ultimate result of this case. And my another case is that next one, the petitioner is getting maintenance from the family court from the husband, and thereafter she filed this case for return of his return of his dowry, which are misappropriated by the husband, and for medical expenses for his child. He is suffering from chronic bronchitis. The illness of the child is proved before the court through documentary evidence, and the court is convinced of that also. And in order to prove the misappropriation of her jewellery and cash, the petitioner has produced a previous statement given by the respondent to the district women's cell, which was a conciliation was pending before the district women's cell, and there the respondent has given an undertaking that he had misappropriated the amount of 20,000 rupees of the petitioner as well as her 6 sovereigns of gold, and he promised by a statement for the return of the amount within 6 months. And we produced that order statement before the magistrate, and the magistrate accepted that order, and on the basis of that statement we got an order to return of 20,000 rupees and 6 sovereigns of gold. The value return of 6 sovereigns of gold or its value equivalent at the time of delivery. That is the words used by the magistrate. And we went for execution of that order, and 20,000 rupees were returned. And the respondent deposited 22,000 rupees towards the value prevailing at the time of their marriage for 6 sovereigns of gold. It is not like that. The order was very clear that the words used is at the time of delivery, denotes that at the time of return of that gold. But the magistrate, the respondent interpreted in that way. The value prevailing at the time of delivery means the value prevailing at the time of their marriage. And even now the execution petition is still pending before the magistrate and not decided the correct interpretation of that words. Another case is that the petitioner claimed maintenance for her children at the rate of 2,500 per month. She is having 2 children, and return of 5 sovereigns of jewellery and cash of rupees 75,000. First the respondent personally appeared, and thereafter the respondent did not turn, and the court ordered 1,800 per month for the maintenance of the petitioner as well as her children, and return of 5 sovereigns of gold or rupees 75,000 as its value. And even now it is not executed so far, the petitioner, because the respondent is absconding thereafter. And another case is that the petitioner filed a petition for maintenance for herself as well as her 2 children at the rate of rupees 1,000 each, and treatment expenses for her daughter who is suffering from some diseases, and return of her jewellery worth 10 sovereigns, and return of cash 75,000, compensation for loss of 1 year of education of the children, rupees 10,000. In this case, the respondent remained ex parte, and court ordered allowance at the rate of 20,000, maintenance at the rate of 2,000 per month altogether, and return of 60,000 towards the value of gold, and declined the relief of medical expenses because he had not proved it with the documentary evidence.